Say, Knuckles, I've heard that this particular island does contain your favorite food of all time. Oh, is it grapes? Yes, exactly, because you're seriously gonna love this place. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is I, the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice. And I am Knuckles the Echidna here, and I'm an Echidna Warrior. And we are back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Nintendo Wii U/Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we have basically did manage to finish up everything for the sake of the Forms of Sea Breeze Cove, and oh no, we actually did the temple level, no problem, and on top of that, we also did manage to able to tackle through you know, the secret levels, and on top of that, we also did manage to able to find a whole bunch of puzzle pieces that we did somehow found, and on top of that, we did somehow manage to beat the boss in that world. So today, for this video, is about the fact that we're about to get started with the forms of the 5th world in the game, known as Juicy Jungle. And because of that, here we go on to the forms of level 5-1, Harvest Hazards. So, as a result, this place is filled to the brim with a lot of fruit, and on top of that, it just looks so cool to see. And like I said before, it's gonna be filled to the brim with a lot of, like, hazards in this particular stage, likely also for the sake of the forms of certain, claw machines, and any other crazy contraptions that's been going on. So because of that, hopefully we shouldn't able to have too much trouble for this particular world, unlike the forms of how it does in World 4 to me. Plus, this mainly because we don't need to necessarily try to worry about going in underwater at all times. So, even then though, with that being said though, let's get the actual thing started, shall we? Yeah, it's especially noticeable concerning for the fact that, while looking at this world, even to this day, that I still find this to be a delicious world to go into. Yeah, because like I said before, it's filled to the brim with a lot of fruits and all that jazz. Now, for what I've noticed is about the fact that in the next couple of levels ahead, I believe we might able to come across into the forms of a honey-themed world, and stuff like that, which I think is actually pretty swell. So, but then again though, we'll save that particular topic if we manage to able to continue exploring for this world. So, anyways, a few things we want to explain for this point today is that today's date is of course the 30th of January today, in some cases in 2024 today. Only 2 more days to go until we're approaching onto the 2nd month in terms of the forms of 2024, and suffice to say, I'm already looking forward to see how the fact that what the next month is going to hold us into. Well, let's just say, for the time being, is about the fact that, obviously, if you couldn't tell already, that I'm actually pretty excited about the fact that when it comes to, like, not only certain things is about to be happening in the next couple of weeks, but it's also about the fact that we actually got ourselves some new discussions we'd like to point things out in regards to the forms of what's happening just recently. First of all, Despicable Me 4 trailer has now been up, and as a result, we might able to actually get ourselves our first glimpse of something new. Likely, for instance, they've now able to actually got themselves the sun, which as a result, no matter what though, they somehow call it Gru Jr. of any sorts, not exactly sure why. But regardless of everything else though, it's just for plot significance. So because of that, despite the fact that we've never actually watched any of those Despicable Me films ever since, I think the last time we actually saw something related to, well, Despicable Me's film series was that, I'm pretty sure that, you remember that one time back in 2017, right? Oh yeah, what about it? Well, do you remember that we sort of able to actually look out or check out the forms of Despicable Me 3, right? Well, yeah, I think I honestly do slightly remember that, despite the fact that I found that film kind of forgettable in my opinion, especially concerning for the fact that it did something a little bit interesting, but it's just that, well, obviously it's kind of bland in comparison to the forms of the first one, as well as the second one for a little bit slightly extendable ways. So, although it does manage to able to bring us into that particular Donkey Kong reference in one of the trailers, but I have no idea, but relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that despite the fact that it's been a very long time since we've known about Despicable Me film series up until this point, but relatively speaking though, it's pretty crazy to think about the fact that we've now able to actually have the 4th installment for certain franchises in Journey Films of this year, which one of them is obviously Kung Fu Panda 4, which we are pretty excited about, and another one which appears to be Buddy Films of Despicable Me 4, and, I mean, what's next? I mean, like, well, it's kinda hard to say, really. I mean, what's next? Like, Cars 4? Well, as far as what I've heard anyway, they're about able to make the next Cars movie. It's on a development, which, as a result, gee, no wonder why it's never gonna stop, for the sake of the forms of the actual development cycle, for certain, like, film sequels, as far as I'm aware. But, either way, though, that's not to say about the fact that, well, potentially speaking, it's about the fact that what I've noticed is that one of the main villains is going to be voiced by that familiar voice actor. For those of you ever seen the Lego Movie, you know, with the villain called Lord Business. Well, as it turns out, it's about the fact that I think actor was Will Farnell, I think is what it says anyway, that he's going to be voicing the villain for the likes of Despicable Me 4. So, pretty interesting to say the least, especially concerning for the fact that he obviously did perform a villain like this before, since in the Lego Movie, and on top of that with the forms of, I think that's as far as I can say about this, I guess. I mean, no matter what though, it's about the fact that I'm not exactly sure if we're able to check it out, honestly, because despite the fact that the actual release date for the film is about to be releasing at some point on the 3rd of July, but no matter what though, I'm pretty much a little bit skeptical about it. So because of that, hopefully though, we might able to actually just say, you know, get hyped about the forms of other films, you know? Which, by the way, something's worth noting for is about the fact that we, you know, fully realize about the fact that luckily that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie is not going to get delayed or anything, so that's obviously a good thing worth noting for. Although, for what I've heard about the fact that the Lilo and Stitch live-action movie on Disney Plus exclusive is going to be expected to be releasing at some point on sometime in June this year, which don't expect things too much to say, because we still are not a big fan of the live-action counterparts of the beloved Disney classic films. Like, seriously, whoever thought that particular concept was actually a good idea? I mean, sure, it is fine back in the day, but it's actually getting over-reused multiple times for the likes of not only in the 2010s era, but also with the films of nowadays in 2020's era. Like, seriously, it's actually getting very tiresome. I get it because of how the fact that they want money business, but it's kind of difficult to say, honestly, because no matter what, though, again, I'm just pretty sick of the forms of, or getting tired of the forms of those godforsaken, live-action movie adaptations for, you know, beloved Disney classics. Like, God, I could imagine if they decided to do a remake of Hercules at some point. I'm basically done with the forms of that specific, decisions when it comes to, like, remaking certain films in live-action format. I mean, that's just getting ridiculous, you know? But that's just me. But anyways, I get the strong feeling that we might be missing one last puzzle piece, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, because I can definitely tell right from the start, though, is about the fact that we, did not pay attention to the forms of that specific, surroundings as much. But then again, we'll be back for that eventually. So yeah, that was it for, Harvest Hazards, and now we're moving on to Reckless Ride. So, level 5-2, I think something tells me is about the fact that we're going to be hop on to the forms of the Rocket Barrel, segment ever since, and I would say the last time we actually went on to the Rocket Barrel was actually back in, during at some point, in, World 3, if I recall, with the forms of Twilight Terror, that you know with the part about the fact that we need to able to find not only one, but 2 secret exits in addition to that, so making a grand total of like 3 different exits to go into. So because of that, yeah, it's pretty abundant for the actuals, for the sake of the forms to try to find, you know, secret exits to be found, but still. Oh, and something's worth noting for, by the way, for this point, thank you all guys so much for able to still supporting our channel so far. Like, as a result, we actually now on to 791 subscribers so far, and we're almost getting very close to 800. I mean, Sure enough though, I honestly have no idea where we're gonna be planning for if we somehow reach 800 subscribers. So yeah, thank you all guys for able to actually support our channel again, which I do honestly appreciate it, because no matter what though, despite with ups and downs in journey forms of some days, but regardless of such though, is about the fact that hopefully in 2024 will be a lot more high expectations for the sake of the forms of what is going to happen. So because of that, yeah, as you can tell, you know, we got onto the rocket barrel and oh jeez, we did not pay attention to that particular attack. But hopefully we should be able to get the hearts eventually later down the road. But regardless of such though, I really still love the actual camera dynamic view right there, which is especially noticeable because concerning for the fact that obviously it does have a lot of... Oh jeez, we did not pay attention to that particular enemy right there, but obviously we still need to able to get that K again, so... Anyways though, there's also another thing I would like to mention about this, is that recently, you know, with the forms of Sonic Heroes, that, well, obviously that it already became, I would say 20 years old already, specifically on the GameCube version as far as I'm aware, but as far as what I've noticed, for the sake of the forms of the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox version, I believe those two versions has already became 20 years old just recently for both the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox version. So because of that, yeah, nothing else to say about it. I mean, while looking back on Sonic Heroes, like we've already mentioned about this briefly, likely for instance with the forms of I love the actual gameplay style, despite the fact that sometimes the controls might be a bit too slippery. Well, aside from the fact that the worst version of the game is still the PlayStation 2 version, just because of lower frame rate and a lot of collision detection issues. And not only that though, is about the fact I feel like the sound quality on the PlayStation 2 version sounds a little bit bad. Well, despite the fact though, Sonic, is about the fact that that particular version of the game has already been re-released on the actual PlayStation 3 digital downloadable version, surprisingly enough. Yeah, which I honestly have no idea why they managed able to go for that decision, but I suppose beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. But either way, oh jeez, we need to watch out for the forms of the actual saw blades right here. Well, to be more accurate though, Knuckles, it's like the actual chopping contraption, so we can able to expect that we can able to avoid a lot of those things at once. So, even though I kind of think about it, is that this particular part right there almost reminds me of the forms of the factory world from Donkey Kong Country Returns, except the only difference being is about the fact that it does manage to take place in a tropical setting, likely also for, you know, gathering a lot of fruit and stuff like that, but still. And yeah, despite the fact we just got hit right there, but that's okay, because exponentially speaking, we'll hopefully try to grab the G, and that should be good to go. So we just have to watch out for that particular... Oh, okay then. So I suppose that particular contraption doesn't seem to get too much threatening. But before you finish off the level, there is technically a bonus area if you roll and jump at the right time. So just in case you can able to go into the bonus area. So it's important that you always have to make sure you need to keep an eye on with the falls of that particular barrel that slightly showed up at one point. So, but either way though, I do apologize for that particular commentary. It's a little bit slightly awkward sometimes. I mean, sure enough though, there are some other things we would love to discuss upon, but I just need to able to focus on, you know what I'm saying, just try to concentrate, to able to not mess this up beyond belief, especially, oh, if we do mess this up, this means we have to go for the entire stage again. Oh, 1 second to spare. That's actually pretty tight. Yeah, especially concerning for the fact that if we do get a time over, we have to come back for it eventually, so... But luckily, Knuckles, that does not seem to be the case at all, so yeah, pretty swell. Even though despite the fact that we've only died once, but that's okay, because exponentially, we are done with that particular stage, so... And sure enough though, it's almost reckless sometimes, but hey. Alright, so let's move on to the next level, which appears to be level 5-3, Fruity Factory. And as far as I'm aware, this level does contain a secret exit, but we'll be back for the secret exit until for later, because I think, relatively speaking though, or maybe, just maybe, we might able to actually go across into it. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, relatively speaking though, it's been about 5 days ago since we've last played this game for sure. I mean, relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that recently, that I believe that Ray the Flying Squirrel has already mentioned about this briefly, is that, well, obviously that, you know, both Silver and Pac-Man have already finished the entire story mode for WarioWare Get It Together. So as a result, by that time until specifically this weekend, hopefully they should be able to finish up the entire WarioWare Get It Together Let's Play until by that time until at some point on February sometime. So anyway, so there's the bonus area just right up there. And good thing is a bouncy trampoline segment right here, alongside with those shifting platforms, because obviously these bonus areas are simply the easiest. Well, assuming if you know what you're doing again, so anyways though. There's also another thing I want to mention, is that yes, we got ourselves a brand new trailer for the likes of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X/S, and despite the fact that there's no release date to be found, but regardless of such though, we actually got ourselves a new gameplay footage on not only for certain transformations for both Goku and Vegeta, but also we get ourselves our first glimpse for showing us the forms of the Super Saiyan God forms for not only for Goku, but also for Vegeta as well. And same applies with the forms of Super Saiyan Blue as well, for both, you know, Goku and Vegeta as well. I mean, at the end of that particular trailer though, we get ourselves our full speculation about this, is that we have no idea how many characters they're able to actually bring in. Well, in terms of playable characters, for the sake of the forms of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, because I know for a fact that in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 does have a lot of playable characters based off not only from the entire Dragon Ball Z sagas, but also with the Dragon Ball GT, alongside with the original Dragon Ball, and heck, even especially noticeable with the what-if scenarios. So because of that, we still have no idea what specific characters they're able to join in. I know for a fact that Lord Beerus is going to be in it, based off from Dragon Ball Super series, so I can possibly understand why. So because of that, I think, fundamentally speaking though, despite the fact that they did show us the forms of the actual gameplay footage of not only the Super Saiyan God for both Goku and Vegeta, but also with the forms of Super Saiyan Blue, Goku and Vegeta, I'm pretty sure it might able to actually have some scenarios based off from the Dragon Ball Z or just some new movies in general. Likely, for example, with the forms of Battle of Gods, that, you know, Lord Beerus is in it, and on top of that, Resurrection of F, and maybe potentially with Dragon Ball Super Broly, as well, because I know for a fact that with our first glimpse of the actual specific character roster when I did looked it up on the forms of Wikipedia just recently, that I'm pretty sure that Broly from Super Counterparts, that it might able to make an appearance as a playable character or something. So, well, despite that though, Sonic, is about the fact that they, you know, the game hasn't exactly got the actual final release date yet, so yeah, it's basically like exactly the same situation as the forms of not only from Kingdom Hearts 3 back in during the forms of in 2013 all the way up to 2019 up to that point, but it's also with the forms of, oh for the love of God, I'm always pretty much useless at these platforming segments like this, especially because you can't take your time either, so, well, at least thankfully though, Sonic, we've already got the checkpoint from earlier, so hopefully we should be able to try to do a successful attempt within the 4th attempt, as a matter of fact. Alright, there we go. Now we got to the actual barrel cannon. And of course, we need to able to run away from that particular spinning Tolem right here. So just in case we don't want to get chopped to pieces. So either way, let's just go grab the N right here. So just in case we don't want to able to mess this up completely. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, though, it's about the fact that it did say wishlist now for the actual Dragon Ball Sparking Zero game, as a matter of fact. So, but then again, we still have no idea when that game is going to be releasing on. But as far as I'm aware, also, oh yeah, something's worth noting for is that I'm pretty sure in this particular little alcove right there, I'm pretty sure this actually leads us to the secret exit, which again, we'll focus on that later. So because of that, Yeah, let's just go ahead and bring Cranky Kong with us for some reason, just to ensure for the fact that we're able to see him in action at one point, so... But, yeah, that's as far as we can able to try to say about the forms of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, because we're still pretty excited for it, despite the fact that we still haven't got ourselves our PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, just because, well, then again, we were originally trying to able to get ourselves Xbox Series X back in the day, but of course we just ended up choosing Xbox One instead, to be more specifically, Xbox One S, so... I'm guessing because of the room limitations or something. So because of that, well, exponentially speaking over this point, Knuckles, is about the fact that by that time, once we get ourselves some more information about the forms of Kingdom Hearts 4 eventually, then we should be able to actually guarantee able to realize that obviously that game is also going to be expected to be only releasing on not only on PlayStation 5 but also with Xbox Series X/S. Now, for what I've heard about the fact that most Kingdom Hearts fans keeps on speculating about this is that maybe if it's a possibility that Kingdom Hearts 4 will be expected to be releasing until 2026, right, which around that time about the fact that, well, for English version for Kingdom Hearts 2 will be expected to become 20 years old for the English version, but compared to the Japanese version it was like, you know, originally it came out in 2005, so... Yeah, but then again, Knuckles, time will tell, especially concerning for the fact that we still have no idea of what specific worlds they're able to contain for Kingdom Hearts 4, alongside with the actual release date and which specific platforms they're going to be releasing on, which we've already guessed this correctly, is obviously it's going to be on PlayStation 5, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be on PlayStation 4, just because of the Unreal Engine 5 system. So because of that, well, to be more accurate though, is the actual engine it runs, so... Yeah, I was expecting for this point right there, because I'm pretty sure that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is also going to be on Unreal Engine 5, so... Yeah, because that's the thing, we move on to a new generation for sure, and I'm pretty sure it might be a possibility that might also happen for the new Nintendo console as well, even though it's a bit difficult to say, honestly, so... Anyways, here we go on to the final section, where basically we have to avoid those blunders, so just in case we don't want to easily get died from this point, so... Alright, I'm pretty sure there's a puzzle piece right there, and... we somehow missed one of them again. Oh, jeez. We're not doing very great when it comes to finding certain puzzle pieces for sure, but hopefully we'll try to able to figure something out eventually. So, either way, that's basically all there is to it for this particular stage right here. So, anyways though, there's also another thing I want to mention. Speaking of something related to Dragon Ball Z, as it turns out, we actually got ourselves yet another trailer, but this time by the forms of the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC. And as a result, the DLC is actually going to contain, is obviously going to be, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Goku's Next Journey. Now, I'm pretty sure it's going to usually take place after the events of Boo's Saga has been ended, or Majin Buu Saga. And as a result, I'm pretty sure the actual plot significance is actually based off of Dragon Ball GT, I'm pretty sure. And as far as I'm usually concerned with this point, Sonic is going to confirm the actual release date for it, and is expected to be releasing at some point on February in this year. But we're not exactly sure when exactly though, just because no matter what though, since we're on 2024 after all, this means it's actually going to be a leap year. So as a result, we were able to come across into 29 days, so... Well, yes, exactly, Knuckles, because the last time we actually did somehow manage to stumble across into a leap year, in regards of the forms of February, which does contain 29 days, was back in 2020, or in some cases though, the most abomination year we've ever experienced. But let's not talk about that right now, just because, no matter what though, I'm actually going to be able to decide to buy some more of those specific items from our Funky Shop. So because of that, as you can tell, we somehow brought not only one, but 5 Dixie Kong barrels. And this might actually be the first time ever we're going to be trying out the item inventory system. So no matter what though, depending on what mode you play into, at least specifically on the Switch version, I believe the original mode, you can only carry up to 3 items, whilst compared to Funky mode, oh man, it contains a whole bunch of items you can able to use. But then again, we'll save that particular topic once we get into the actual extra stuff of how that particular thing has to offer. So because of that, as you can tell, since we're going to be only equipping the forms of Dixie Kong barrels through the majority of the stage, as you can tell, not only because no matter what though, this particular stage contains a secret exit after all, but also is about the fact that, get this, one of the Kong letters does need to require a perfect timing. So because of that, yeah, prepare ourselves with the forms of some bit of struggles from time to time, but hopefully we'll try our best if we're able to actually just do, you know, accomplish some things like this. So anyways, as I was saying about the forms of that particular DLC familiar for the likes of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, as it turns out, it's about the fact that yes, Goku's next journey is based on the events of the end of Dragon Ball Z Buu. One of the series' primary antagonists is reborn, and Buu, I think is what it says anyway, the 28th World Martial Arts Tournament is featured here as well. So, yeah, potentially speaking, I'm not exactly sure how lengthy that particular DLC is going to be, but I'm sure enough, though, once that particular DLC is going to be released, well, despite the fact that we still haven't actually got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and not just by the forms of the PlayStation 4, but also with the Nintendo Switch version as well. Well, truth be told for this point, Knuckles, just because no matter what, though, we still have no idea of when the actual Nintendo Switch is almost going to be ending into its lifespan. But no matter what, though, we're still able to predict about the forms of some upcoming games in the future. Oh, jeez, this shark is really irritating. But thankfully, though, we did somehow manage able to obtain, I would say, a puzzle piece down there. So no matter what, though, we're still able to be very cautious around here, especially if you really want to go out of your way to able to obtain a G. And on top of that, with that particular secret exit as well, we have to keep Dixie Kong at all times. So because of that, if you mess up a couple of times, then you just have to able to restart the stage, and then obviously I highly recommend you able to bring out the item inventory spot, just in case if you potentially try to able to get hit a lot. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty tricky though. Well, aside from all that stuff though, Sonic, is about the fact that at the very least we can able to actually utilize the item inventory. So, and I think we'll pretty much get able to continue that for the sake of the forms of some stages to come. To be more specifically, the temple level coming up, and on top of that with some other levels as well. So, because eventually at some points the game is gonna get a little bit more difficult as far as progression goes. So yeah, wish us luck, I guess, especially considering for the fact that it'll get a lot more intense in journey forms of some scenarios, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, tell me about it. So anyways, oh jeez. Okay, let's grab this puzzle piece, so just in case we'll get this done and over with. And unfortunately, we've lost Dixie Kong due to that particular, I would say, the actual swimming hitbox just feels a bit kind of weird at times. But regardless of such though, it does take a bit while, so. And in fact, the last time we actually did somehow swim was back in the forms of the 4th world. Yeah, the Sea Breeze Cove, to be more specific. So, anyways though, there's also another thing we want to mention about this as well. Generally speaking though, is that I've noticed that about the fact that, well, have you heard of the actual film called The Marvels? Oh, what about it? Well, apparently though, what I've noticed on the Disney Plus application, that particular film is going to be releasing on Disney Plus until the 7th of February. So, no matter what though, we might be curious to check it out. Especially concerning, I've heard some controversial opinions about it, especially concerning for the fact that with the short runtime, and not only that though, the editing is a bit off. So no matter what though, we're still curious to check it out, but don't expect things with the high expectations for that particular film to check out. Just because no matter what though, we've heard about some pretty bad moments from time to time, but we're still curious to check it out. So, and we're able to discuss upon our opinions of it until specifically, it's about to due out at some point on the 7th of February, as I mentioned this earlier. And, oh wow, look at that, we somehow filled up the actual special meter already. So, I think it's probably best to able to recommend you able to use that particular special move with Dixie Kong right there. Especially not only if you want to go after that particular G coming up, but also with the forms of that specific secret exit we need to stumble across into. So again, sometimes it might take a bit of a while to able to get to that specific point. So yeah, because as far as I'm aware, this level is ridiculously long. So yeah, we'll scout able to just... Oh wow, that was a close one. Yeah, because if we ended up to mess up with that particular barrel cannon shot right there, then obviously there is no way we can able to backtrack, and on top of that, we're able to activate the checkpoint already. So, no matter what though, we're scout able to just keep on swimming and hope for the best. So, yeah, I suppose that's pretty much as far as I can sum up with the forms of this specific stage specifically. But then again, though, it's a good thing we did somehow manage to able to double up our health for certain situations, although there might be a couple of times though we might accidentally run into things, like specifically those little spiky balls or spiky objects, and you probably name the rest. So yeah, no matter what though, yeah, that's as far as we can able to say about the actual the Marvels that's about to be releasing. And I think that particular film is going to be releasing just before the DVD/Blu-ray release of the film, despite, well, relatively speaking, knows that Disney owns everything at this point right now. Oh, did you know about the fact that Sonic OVA, or to be more specifically, Sonic the Hedgehog the movie in Journey Films of in 1999, technically speaking though, in a Japanese release of that specific film, as far as I'm aware, yeah, that G right there is pretty impossible to get unless you get out able to time yourselves perfectly, not able to get that specific G letter. And then once you're done with that, then you'll be good to go, right? Well, as it turns out, that as you can see, we're able to actually swim through there, as with Dixie Kong with us, so that pretty much leads us to the secret exit. So because of that though, yeah, I'm pretty sure we've gone most of it anyway, so we'll just finish off the forms of the secret exit portion of the stage. So just to ensure for the fact that we'll get this done and finished. So yeah, we somehow got every single puzzle pieces on that stage. So oh wait, that was quite mesmerizing, I will have to say, even though despite the fact that it's a little bit easy and such if you're trying to equip the actual item inventory, but I just want to get this done and finished before anything else goes insane. So anyways, let's go back in here for presumably for the final time, just in case we can able to get ourselves the normal exit, and that will be about it basically. So even then, yeah, let's just go ahead and well, get a move on, I guess. So anyway, as I was saying, that Sonic OVA, or Sonic the Hedgehog OVA, the first Sonic anime series in a franchise, or specifically, the first episode of the films of the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA, has recently become 28 years old in Japan, since in 1996. So, yeah, it seems kind of crazy, kind of thinking about it. So, yeah, generally speaking, I was about the fact that there's a lot of memes on that particular thing itself is worth noting for. Oh, you know that part where Sonic accidentally almost pull up a you know what I'm talking about, which I'm probably not going to mention about this right now, just because it's a family-friendly channel after all, despite there are some you know what I'm talking about. So, no matter what though, we'll scout able to stick around for it. So, anyway, oh yeah, there's also another thing too, is about the fact that I managed able to realize about the fact that when it comes to Sonic Prime Season 3, that particular season has recently viewed for 5.1 million hours on Netflix since some time ago. Yeah, pretty crazy to able to know about the fact that the third and final season was actually pretty popular enough. So, and I suppose there's also another thing I want to mention, is that recently, Nintendo is actually doing a collaboration with, let's just say, one of those specific drinks that is usually called, Capri Sun. Oh, what about it? Well, you see, Nintendo and Capri Sun have formed a new partnership for a branding opportunity. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Pikmin 4 will appear on cottons and pouches of Capri Sun, Fruit Punch, Strawberry Kiwi, and Pacific Cooler. And that's as far as memory goes, that's as far as we can able to discuss upon the forms of Nintendo's having a massive collaboration with the forms of Capri Sun. Yeah, exactly. So the next thing I want to discuss is that since that we only forms of the 30th of January after all, this means no matter what though, we've only just got about exactly, well, 30 days to go until Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for the PlayStation 5 will be releasing during that time. So because of that, yeah, I'm sure that most Final Fantasy VII fans out there will be a lot more excited about it, especially I'm guessing it will able to make its way for the Game of the Year award until specifically by the end of the forms of 2024 for sure, because technically speaking of Knuckles is that that was actually the sequel to the forms of Final Fantasy VII Remake after all, especially concerning for the fact that, well, obviously it's going to be on the PlayStation 5 exclusive up to this point. So yeah, you probably get the idea for this point. So anyways, there's also another thing we want to address something, is that since no matter what though, suffice to say, I think, potentially speaking though, for those of you who lived in Denmark, I'm afraid to tell you is that Disney Junior is about to shut down until specifically on the beginning portion of March, specifically on Friday. So because of that, because like we said this before, is about the fact that we're going to be approaching onto a leap year, well, since we're now in the leap year, actually. So as a result, no matter what though, if we go on to February, this means we have to stumble across into 29 days, as we've already explained this earlier. So because of that, yeah, it's going to be unfortunate for Denmark. I get it because of how the fact that Disney Plus is actually going to get a lot more popular these days, especially concerning for the fact that despite they did lost quite a few amount of those subscribers, or should I say, large portions of certain subscribers for Disney Plus. So no matter what though, I guess that's totally understandable of why that Disney Junior is now no longer going to be taking place on TV channels anymore, just because, well, Disney Plus is now taking over, basically. So because of that, and that's as far as saying goes, that's as far as we can able to explain about the forms of Disney Plus, or to be more specifically, Disney Junior for the sake of time. So anyways, there's also another thing we want to mention, is that, for what I've noticed on certain speculations, or let's just not get ahead of ourselves for this point, Knuckles, because what I've noticed is that it's been like 2 days ago since when Pokemon Legends Arceus did somehow recently came out in 2022, so that's roughly 2 years ago now. So generally speaking though, despite the fact that we still haven't got that game, mainly because of in one word, or actually quite a kind of thing about it, multiple words we can able to describe it, because like we said this countless amount of times already, we're not a massive die-hard Pokemon fanatic, we're just an okay fan of it, especially concerning for the fact that we still got some spin-off games on the Wii, and on top of that with certain spin-off games for specific virtual console games like Pokemon Snap most notably, rather than Pokemon Puzzle League, because let me tell you, we basically still give up on that game, mainly because it's way too stupidly difficult, especially concerning if you really want to become the true master of the game, you have to go through super hard difficulty setting, or specifically very hard difficulty, and my goodness is that the computer players are actually super top notch at it. So because of that though, yeah, we basically just give up playing Puzzle League now, mainly because it is too difficult in certain scenarios. So but that's just how I feel about it anyway, apart from Tetris Attack, which as a result, that was the game we only do care about, because obviously Yoshi was in the actual title, despite the fact that Yoshi's name wasn't even on there. But to be more accurate though, Knuckles, is about the fact that we do appreciate it that we somehow finally get a chance to able to have Tetris Attack for ourselves on the likes of the actual SNES Classic Mini, for likely hacking certain things, but still. So as you can see, we have now ended up on the next level, as you can tell, and the main gimmick of this stage is that we're going to be keep on bouncing onto specific jellies. Like for instance, the red ones will simply just allow you to bounce even a bit higher, and on top of that, the blue ones can actually activate as specific switcheroos, and for the green ones, as you can tell, they allow you to able to bounce even higher. So because of that though, yeah, it's actually pretty much a fun level to me, especially considering for the fact that, I will admit though, I also like jelly as well, but unfortunately for you, Knuckles, I don't think it's possible we can able to come across into grape flavored jelly or something like that. Yeah, I was thinking about that for this point, Sonic. I was thinking about that, because no matter what, though, that still is a pretty cool world to explore. Even though that, again, this is where the game starts to get a little bit more difficult at this point, if you really get out of your way to able to actually just try to find not only the Kong letters, but also with every single puzzle pieces from time to time. So, yeah, we might be able to just, well, try to focus and concentrate at the same time. So, I believe we've only got one more puzzle piece left. We were expecting if we were able to actually try to find a secret exit on the previous level, but we'll do that in the next video, just because no matter what though, by that time until specifically on Thursday coming up, it will be on the 1st of February. So because of that, yeah, we did somehow got every single puzzle pieces now. So because of that though, yeah, this level is actually really easy. Especially considering for the fact that if you pretty much know what to do, then you'll feel right at home when it comes to this particular stage. So you just keep on bouncing onto certain jelly blocks and all that stuff. So everything else will be pretty much accounted for. Except on this last bit right there, just in case you don't want to get crushed by the forms of 2 of those jellies together. So, yeah, that was actually a pretty fun level, I'm not gonna lie. Especially considering for the fact that you can able to bounce around and such. And I believe that we've almost done with the forms of Juicy Island, or Juicy Jungle to be more specifically. So because of that though, again, I apologize for our commentary, it's a little bit slightly iffy at some points, but that's just the way we're going to be saying for this point right here. So with that being said, is that we get endings off this point right here. So join us next time for more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Is that we're going to be finishing up everything for the sake of the forms of Juicy Jungle and able to beat the likes of the 5th boss in the game eventually. So we'll see you guys until on Thursday. Later, fellas.